I think all of us are in a pursuit of making our lives better. And when we think about how we're actually going to achieve this, I think a lot of times the natural inclination is to start adding more to our lives. What systems and tools do I need to add to my workflow to be more productive? What gaps do I need to fill in my wardrobe to really complete my personal style? But I found my life started to get a whole lot easier and simpler the more I took things away. So in today's video, I want to share with you all of the things I quit to simplify my life. Since I stopped doing a lot of these things, I feel like my life has been so much easier, things run so much more smoothly, and I feel like I'm doing better work and feel better because of it. So let's get into it. Number one was shopping without a plan. If you're new to my channel, and if you are, please subscribe, it's right there. Join us, join the fam, we're pretty cool here. Then you might not know that I used to be a full-blown shopaholic and I was drowning in over $120,000 of debt that I could never get out from underneath of because of my bad spending habits and my toxic relationship with money. And the main thing I turned to soothe that lack of control that I felt was shopping. Shopping was pretty much my only hobby, and I would often end up wandering around malls or shopping online looking for something new to want. I never really had anything in mind. I just knew that I wanted to spend some money and I didn't want to leave the shopping trip empty-handed. What that left me was with a closet full of clothes bursting at the seams, a whole lot of nothing to wear, and even more debt and money stress at the end of it. I've come a long way since then. I'm debt-free and I have a much more healthy relationship with my shopping and my stuff. But one thing I never do anymore is go shopping without a plan. Even if I want to go shopping as a leisure activity or go thrifting, I still always kind of have something in mind. I have a gap that I want to fill in my wardrobe, and what that does for me is keep the shopping trip really intentional. It prevents me from getting distracted, I don't buy things I don't necessarily need or want, and I find it's much easier to walk away from something because it's something that I know I don't need. The second thing I quit to simplify my life was fast fashion and clothing hauls. I came of age in the era of the clothing haul, the makeup haul, the skincare haul. More was always more. And when you watch that content enough, it starts to really normalize the amount of things that you think you need to buy in one shopping trip. And because I valued quantity over quality and I didn't really have a lot of money to spend, I would often turn to fast fashion brands to try to get the most out of my dollar. I never really stopped to think about why the clothes were so cheap, where the clothing came from, what it was made out of, who made it. And there was a time in my life that I considered all of it disposable. If it wore out really fast, doesn't matter, I'll just go out and buy some more. Nowadays, I still really love clothes and I still love to shop, but I value quality over quantity a lot more. And I'm willing to pay that extra money to make sure that the garment is high quality and buy into brands with values that actually care about where their clothing comes from and the impact it has on the environment. If you're curious to learn more about how fast fashion impacts people, the planet, and our wallets, I highly recommend checking out the documentary Inside the Shein Machine. And you can watch it completely for free on CBC Gem. And I really want to thank CBC for partnering with me in today's video. I feel like I talked about Mr. Dress Up and being a CBC kid in one of my previous videos, and I feel like I just manifested CBC reaching out and wanting to work with me. Amazing. But CBC is not just a news resource for Canadians. CBC has a ton of content and amazing resources, so you can dive into pretty much any topic under the sun. I've really enjoyed going down the rabbit hole and spending time learning more about the impacts of fast fashion through that Passionate Eye documentary. There's also a really great podcast I've been loving called The Cost of Living, which kind of goes into money from a Canadian perspective. And there's even an episode where they compare the cost of Canadian homes to actual literal European castles. But since I watched that documentary on CBC Gem, it really got me thinking even harder about what I buy, who I buy from, and just buying less overall. And it's really reinforced my commitment this year to styling over shopping, using what I have, and getting the most out of it. Thank you so much, CBC, for partnering with me. I am absolutely stoked, like I still can't believe it. They're not just about news and hockey. There is so much to dive into on CBC's content library, so definitely check it out. Number 3 is debt. If you have debt, then I know how stressful that feels. I worked really hard for many years to pay off my debt, and now that I'm finally debt-free, I never want to feel that way again. And yes, part of the reason I did get into debt was due to student loans, and there's a lot of reasons that we acquire the debt that we do, but a lot of it was also my own spending habits and my own relationship with money. As soon as I promised to myself that I would no longer get into debt for junk I didn't need ever again, it's really simplified my life, because if I can't pay for it now, then it means I can't afford it, and it's as simple as that. Number 4 is I stopped paying myself last. There's a saying in personal finance, and that is to pay yourself first. But I think what happens after payday is a lot of us tend to do that last. We tend to pay off bills, living expenses, essentials first. Then after that, since you work so hard, you want to spend some money on fun, and then whatever's left over, then it's like, oh, okay, maybe I'll save that, which I did myself for years. And then I wondered why I never really had any savings or any money left over after payday. Now I have my bank set up and automated where as soon as I get paid, a certain amount from that paycheck goes straight into savings and investments. Then anything after that I can allocate to bills, payments, and fun money. So it almost feels like I never had that money in the first place because it just goes immediately into savings, and I'm just seeing that money accumulate automatically. It's really simplified saving and investing for me, and it really minimizes the amount of mental gymnastics I have to do justifying where my money should go from each paycheck and why. Number 5 is staying up late. I'm not really that much of a night owl at all, but since I started prioritizing my sleep, making sure I get minimum 7 to 8 hours every night, I feel like my life has just gotten so much better. I created a schedule where I go to bed at similar times every night, and I also wake up at similar times every single morning, and to me, it just makes things so much easier. I don't rush around in the morning because I didn't get enough sleep the night before, and I stopped sacrificing my sleep in order to get more done. Number 6 was I stopped thinking that certain things weren't for me. I just used to have a lot of limiting beliefs around myself that really just stopped me from learning about things that I was curious about. For many years, for example, I procrastinated learning about money. I completely avoided it because I just thought, well, I'm not a finance person. It must not be for me, so I guess I'm just not going to learn about it. Which I think is completely untrue. If you're curious about something or if you're struggling with something, you are smart enough and capable of learning about it. There is so much content out there that's completely available for free. There's communities, there's forums, there's so many ways that you can learn about things that you're curious about. So don't think that it's not for you. And when I stopped believing that about myself, it really opened up so much potential in things that I could learn about and do. Quit putting things off. This applies to things like work, meetings, but it also applies to things like messes, putting laundry away, doing the dishes, so it can really translate to any area of your life. If there's something that you can do that'll take you 2 minutes or less, just do it right away and you'll be happy that you did. Number 8 was that I stopped wearing a full face of makeup every single day. I just find for myself, I prefer a more natural face, and I still do makeup every day, but I found I've really simplified my routine to a select few products that just make me feel a little bit more awake and fresh every day. And I often do full-on makeup-free days just because I feel a lot more comfortable in my own skin. If you enjoy doing makeup and that's your thing, I think that's awesome, but for me, feeling the pressure of having to do a full beat of makeup every single day, I feel like it took up a lot of time. It didn't really feel good on my skin, and I feel like in a way it sort of affected my confidence because I felt like I couldn't show up in the world unless I was wearing a full face of makeup. So simplifying my makeup routine, simplifying what I feel like I need every day to feel fresh and like myself, it's really helped save me a lot of time. It's saved me money because I don't buy as much makeup anymore, and I just feel more confident in myself with or without that makeup. Number 9 was that I stopped feeling compelled to shop sales just because. This really goes hand in hand with no longer shopping without a plan, because shopping sales, I find I used to just feel so tempted to buy whatever I could just because it was on sale. Don't get me wrong, I love a good sale and I still do shop them, but never just because something is on sale. Usually whatever I buy, it's something that I've been thinking about for a long time. It's something that's been on my wish list, and that way I'm actually taking advantage of the discount rather than buying it at full price. But I found when I bought things just because they were a good deal, it's never anything that had significant meaning or value in my life. It would often be clothes that just ended up in the back of my closet. They would often end up being pieces that were never worn. They would add to clutter in my space. Ultimately, it would just be a bigger waste of money at the end of the day, because I realized over time it was the deal that I was after and not necessarily the thing. Number 10 is more related to work and productivity, but I stopped creating massive to-do lists that I could never complete. Nowadays, I limit my to-do list to 3 items, 1 big task and 2 small ones, because I think it's really easy to overestimate the amount of work you can get done in a day. how long things take, troubleshooting, things like that. And then it just often ends up feeling like a failure at the end of the day when you didn't complete your to-do list. So keeping my to-do list to a maximum of 3 not only makes me feel more productive and accomplished, but I'm actually getting more done because things don't end up getting procrastinated and moved to the next day constantly because I just couldn't get it all done in a day. So when it comes to the to-do list, less is always better. Number 11 is still a work in progress, but I am trying to stop favoring shallow work over deep work. So deep work is things that are a little bit more difficult to do. So tasks like writing or learning something brand new, learning a new language, things that really require a lot of focus and brain power, versus shallow work that is important work too, but it's definitely a lot more technical and requires a lot less effort and focus. So for example, things like checking your email, doing the dishes, kind of almost busy work. But I found over time I would often procrastinate doing my deep work, the meaningful work, work that will actually progress what I want to do forward, for shallow work. And I would use shallow work as a form of procrastination. So now what I do is sort of slot out times when I know I feel most clear, which for me is early in the morning, for deep work. And then I wait until later to do things like having meetings, checking emails, answering emails, any of those things that I consider a little bit more shallow and technical work. I leave that to later in the day because it's just a little bit easier and requires less energy and focus to do it. Number 12 is high impact fitness classes. I used to bop all over the city trying a bunch of different fitness classes and never really stuck to any routine. And I found I also never really got the results that I was looking for. So I replaced all that with low impact weight training, low impact cardio, and Pilates. I find with this, not only do I have a really consistent routine that I've built up that I can now stick to, but I'm seeing the results that I've always wanted, and I'm doing it without feeling too fatigued or having any injuries either. Next is biting my nails. I have been a nail biter all my life. I think it's just a way that I chose to release anxiety, but I was tired of having short, ragged looking nails all the time, so I decided I would invest in myself and get a gel manicure once a month. And the simple fact is, when my nails look nice, I don't bite them. And when I have nice nails, I just feel more confident about myself. I feel like I don't need to hide my hands, I don't feel embarrassed, I don't feel self-conscious. I feel like I can do other things and show up in the world with a lot more ease. And finally, a 10-step skincare routine. I used to have skin that looked like this. And if you've suffered with acne before, then you know how much it can negatively impact your confidence. And I find with skincare, especially because you feel so desperate to try anything to get rid of the acne, we end up putting more on our skin and actually make it worse. I ended up going to a dermatologist and I learned that a lot of my skin issues were due to hormonal acne and required prescription medication, but I also found that I needed to cut way back on the skincare I was using. My skin barrier was completely damaged and I needed to simplify my routine down to like 3 or 4 products maximum. As soon as I did that with very simple, affordable ingredients, pretty much all available from the drugstore, my skin got so much better. And anytime I start to break out again, I know it's because I'm probably doing too much to my skin and going overboard. So those are some of the things I quit to simplify and ultimately improve my life. If you're looking to achieve something similar and simplify your life, I think a great question to ask is, what can I take away instead of what more can I add? Because I find in many cases, less is truly better. So let me know some things that you quit that simplified your life. And don't forget to check out CBC's content library. There are so many cool things to learn about over there, so many things that will spark your curiosity, tons of rabbit holes to dive down. I'll leave it all linked down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next Sunday. Bye.